Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. In today's video I'm going to be filming a book haul for you slash a library haul. The first couple of books I'm going to show you, I think the first four actually, are all books that I picked up recently at the library, and then in the second half I will be showing books that are all ebooks and that I've either been sent or just kind of early copies of things. So yeah, the first book I picked up is this book, which is Hungerstone by Kat Dunn. For What Do You Hunger? I actually had reserved this at the library, and it's only yesterday in the evening that I was like, am I allowed to do that? But anyway, so I reserved this at the library and I think I was like number 3 on the list, and then when I was in the library on Friday I saw it in like the display section. I can't remember what part it was for a display, so I just took it off the display. And I've done that before, but it was only last night that I was like, are you supposed to do that? I mean, they've never like told me off or anything like that, you know. Obviously I assume they're displayed there so that people could get inspiration to like want to read it, but then I'm just like, well, then it ruins their display. You know, they don't ever say like don't take these copies off the display, and I'm pretty sure there was also another book missing from it. So anyway, because I knew I had this reserved and I was like, well, I want to read it, so I'm just gonna skip the queue. And I've done that a couple of times where I've had a book reserved and then I'll be in the library and I see it and I'm like, well, so why am I like number 4 on the list when you've got a bloody like spare copy hanging around? Obviously I'm sure they have a whole system for it. Honestly, I cannot recall why I wanted to read this book. I know I put it on my Goodreads kind of to read list, and then when I kind of like go through it periodically to kind of see like, oh, what books do I still want to read and like what books can I get in the library. And I don't know why, there's still something about it that stuck out to me. But it says here, Lenora is the wife of a steel magnate, Henry, but 10 years into their marriage, their relationship has soured and no child has arrived. And then it says that Henry's ambitions take them from London to the Peak District, yada yada. It takes them to all sorts of different places. But it says, as they travel through the bleak countryside, a shocking carriage accident brings the mysterious Carmilla into Lenore's life. And it says here, Carmilla, who is weak and pale during the day but vibrant at night, Carmilla who stirs up something deep within Lenore. And before long, girls from the local villages fall sick, consumed by a terrible hunger. And it basically talks about like Lenore, the wife, sort of starting to unravel and question like the role that she's been playing for all these years. Okay, reading that, I'm like, I know exactly why I picked up this book. It says, torn between regaining her husband's affection and the cravings Carmilla has awakened, soon Lenore will uncover a darkness in her household that will place her at terrible risk. Oh, it says that this is set against the violent wilderness of the peaks and uncontrolled appetites of the Industrial Revolution. It's a sapphic reworking of Carmilla, the book that inspired Dracula. I did not know any of that stuff. Okay, so I think I picked this up because it was kind of about like gender roles and a woman kind of, I guess, questioning her kind of life choices. I think that's the theme that I would have been drawn to. I'm not sure if I'd seen the other stuff about what it was a reworking of. I feel like maybe I did. I feel like I saw this in the Goodreads when they were kind of highlighting some books. But anyway, that is a book I'm excited to read. I think this might be the next book that I actually pick up. Whilst I was going through my Goodreads stuff, you can't really see it too well on this book, I really wanted to start to read some of the oldest books that I kind of put on my to-read list, because I feel like this one is from like 2011 or something like that. So I am going to start like a separate kind of like reading vlog about that, looking at some of the books, like the oldest books on my Goodreads list, and you know, if I still would have kind of like read them and how my reading taste might have changed. But this was one of them, and looking at it I was like, this still sounds like really interesting to me, so it's something that I want to read. So this is The Lover's Dictionary, and it just sounds really, really fascinating to me, because it says that the author starts where we all once started, with the alphabet. So it says, we're all beginners when it comes to love, from those tentative first dates to learning how to live with or without someone. But how does one talk about love? How does one chart its delights and pleasures, its depths and desolations? Do we even have the right words to describe something that can be both utterly mundane and completely transcendent, pulling us out of our everyday lives and making us feel a part of something greater than ourselves? So yeah, it says he constructs the story, like he constructs relationships as a dictionary, which I'm just really intrigued to see. It says he explores the intimacies and workings of love through his nameless narrator to paint a highly original, deeply moving portrait of love in our time. And from what I also understand from reading like other blurbs as well, like this is kind of told in maybe like a very kind of short format and through like kind of quotes and through the perspective of a kind of unnamed couple as well. So I'd be intrigued to read that and see like what if this is something that I would still think to like put on my list like nearly, well, over 10 years later, to be honest. So the other book I picked up from the library is Everyone This Christmas Has a Secret. I have read the other 2 books in the series, so sometimes I just like a little follow through, you know. Sometimes I'm just like, yay, let's see what they've written now. So this will be number 3 in the series, and I guess also to tap into the kind of festive season. So this one is actually much shorter than the other ones in the series, and I think these kind of writers that, you know, write crime detective novels, and then like when it comes to the Christmas edition, like I feel like maybe they feel like they have to kind of capitalize on that kind of Christmas theme, and then they end up writing this, but it's always like a shorter version. But it says here, I mean, I'll ignore the kind of like blurb. We're still with our kind of main sleuth slash writer, Anna Cunningham, and he says, "I'm not a detective, I just happen to have a knack for what makes mysteries and murders tick. I'd hope this Christmas that any killers out there might be willing to take a break for the holidays. I was wrong. So here I am backstage at the Christmas show of the world-famous magician Ryland Blaze, whose benefactor has just been murdered. From the magician's assistant to the hypnotist, my suspects are all professional tricksters, masters in the art of misdirection. My clues are even more of a mystery." And then it presents the clues for you there. Reading that, it just gave me vibes of Now You See Me. Is that what it's called? Yeah, the magic film. I actually watched that this year, and I was just like, I'm surprised I've never seen this before, because I thoroughly enjoyed it. Like, I watched Now You See Me, and then I watched the second one straight after, all in one evening. And I know the third one is coming out. I believe it actually debuts in the US this year, but it will be out in the UK next year. I could be wrong. But yes, this is another one. Definitely will get to reading this. I think this will be my first Christmas read of the year. I'm not someone who really like gets into Christmas or gets into like Christmas reads or anything like that. I can read anything at any time of year. But yeah, I don't like specifically seek them out or anything like that, but this one just happened to fall into my lap just because of where it falls in the series. And then another book I picked up from the library. I just happened to be in the library and was sat in the poetry section maybe a week or so ago, and was looking at like, oh, what new like poetry collections can I pick up, because I hadn't been reading poetry for a while, and I saw this and I just read the blurb and I was just like, this sounds really, really interesting. So this collection, it says that Mercy gathers a resonant new selection from the work So it says here on the back, Mercy's gathers a resonant new collection from the work of this poet who helped to redefine what could be written and who, for generations of readers and artists since, has reimagined an exemplar of openness, originality and passion. I actually have read the introduction to this. It's written by her daughter, and I don't know much about Anne Sexton's life. There is a poem I do know from her that I just cannot for the life of me remember right now, so hopefully it'll be included here, but maybe if not, it's in one of her other collections. But yeah, I just really wanted to kind of get back into reading some more poetry, and at the time I'd taken out the Raymond Antrobus collection, but I thought, let me go with something that's a bit more of a classic and see like what I think of it. So that's why I have this one. Another one from the library is this one. It's called Bitter Honey. I saw someone just recently talk about this on YouTube and it sounded great, so I put in a request that evening from my library, and then like the next day it was there, and I was like, wow. This sounds so good. It's about a woman whose husband passes away, and then her and her husband, I think, they're both into keeping beehives, and in each of the beehives he has left a letter, and over the course of that letter it reveals something about their marriage. It says he has left her 11 letters, the exact same number as there are frames in a beehive. Each letter is an examination of an aspect of their marriage. They've been married for over 50 years. And it says, the morning of the funeral, Sadie, Hannah's estranged little sister, comes back home for the service. As the letters unfold, they reveal a devastating secret that will make Hannah have to reevaluate her whole life. I wonder what the relevance of the estranged sister coming back is, because it's just like this one line that's mentioned, and I'm assuming this holds a great secret. But yeah, just from the way it was described, it sounded really interesting, and I was like, what's the secret? I'm really intrigued. So that's the reason why I ended up getting this. So on to some ebooks. I think I only have one of them on here at the moment. I thought I had the other one, but I don't, so I will put a cover up of the other one. You can't really see this one, so I'm just going to put a cover up of it anyway. But this is The Divine Within by Alison Batty Capps, subtitle Healing Ourselves to Heal the World. So this author actually reached out to me and asked if I would be interested in this book, I think a couple of months ago, and then they finally got the kind of like ebook proofs. So I was like, yes, it sounds of absolute interest to me. I don't really accept a lot of books for review these days because, guys, I'm just going to be very honest. I am lazy. Like, as a mood reader, like, I read what takes my fancy. And therefore, like, I don't like feeling in any way, shape or form, like, constricted or being like, I have to read this book. because, you know, someone sent it to me. But I'm trying to get better with kind of like, well, actually I've just been quite better in the sense that like I will only read books that I feel like are of genuine interest to me, not just like, maybe I'd be interested in that. I read books that I'm just like, I accept books for review that I'm just like, yeah, that definitely sounds like something that I would naturally pick up anyway. And also in particular for this book, I did look up the author just to see like, you know, what the kind of other work they were doing in this space. And I was like, yeah, this sounds like a book I definitely want to read. So I'm going to just read from the blurb, not too much of it, but it says, what if the biggest fears could become your greatest source of healing? Drawing from her own journey of transforming a profound mystical experience and complex mental health diagnosis into a path of wholeness, the author has set out to write from her scars, not her wounds, successfully offering a compassionate roadmap for anyone seeking to reconnect with their inner wisdom. And then it goes on to talk about kind of book as a whole. So it says the divine within bridges the world of psychology, spirituality and neuroscience to reveal how we can access our innate healing capacities through mindfulness practices that honor both our humanity and our divinity, transform our relationship with challenging emotions by learning to listen to the wisdom they contain, and discover how ancient wisdom traditions and modern psychological insights illuminate our path to wholeness. So there's a little bit more about the blurb. But for me, I think it was definitely that blend of psychology, spirituality and neuroscience that I was like, yes, I am interested in reading this. So yeah, that's that one I will definitely be getting through. At the moment, I'm about to start The Dark Side of the Light Chasers as a reread. But because it's a reread for me and I'm kind of mainly focused on it as a way to do the exercises, I will be able to pick up another non-fiction book alongside it. So yeah, I'm very excited for this book. It just sounds like something, again, like I said, that I would naturally gravitate towards reading. So I was like, yeah, I'm going to be reading this one. Another book that the author reached out to me, and I was so glad when she did, because I was like, wow, like just like a week before I had just like found out about the book. And that book is Single and Psycho by Caroline Young. So the Golden Hair Bookshop, I believe it's the one in Edinburgh, had sent out like an email about their events, and I was just looking to see like what was on and if it would be anything that I'd be interested in. And I'd seen Caroline's book and I was like, oh wow, that sounds really, really great. But I was unsure about whether or not I would go to the event. And then like a week later, after me seeing that, she emailed me, and she will be speaking at the I Writes Festival in Glasgow. So I think if I can get the dates to work out, I will go and see her then. But yeah, she contacted me and asked if I wanted to read a copy, and I was like, yes. I was already very, very interested in the book, so absolutely brilliant. So the book has a subtitle of How Pop Culture Created the Unstable Single Woman. So I'm just going to read the blurb for you, but it says here, in Single and Psycho, the author explores how broader social trends such as the anti-feminist backlash of the 1980s, contemporary debates about trad wives and childless cat ladies, and the absence of single women of colour on screen shape the way women are misperceived and mistreated. She weaves a history of stereotypes within her own fight against stigma as a single woman, as well as her struggles with infertility, infusing incisive analysis with personal experience in this approachable, savvy expose of one of the mainstream media's most enduring cliches. But yeah, this book just sounds of such interest to me, especially because like just seeing so much online about it's so interesting because obviously kind of, I guess the tropes that she's talking about are definitely things that I definitely see online, but also like, and maybe it's just because of the content that I watch, a lot of my content is also about like kind of like how, you know, women who have been married and are now either widowed or divorced, and how much they kind of talk about kind of how they wish they didn't do any of those things, and then like other single women talking about just kind of how they are fine. So it's really interesting to hear her talk about those tropes, and it's interesting for me to know that like my experience of what I'm seeing kind of reflected around me in my echo chamber is not those kind of like horrible tropes or anything like that. But I'm really interested to see what she has to say, because it does seem like she's kind of looking at a whole host of different things. She's kind of looking, you know, at pop culture, but then yeah, obviously looking at things like witch burnings, 19th century diagnosis of hysteria. So there's a lot going into this. So I'm very, very excited to read this. And then my final addition to this is something I'm so excited to read. And you know, I never really like read books if they're kind of like, I think I can send this to my Kindle, so it will be absolutely be fine. But I don't usually read books unless they're kind of, I guess, at that proof stage or anything like that. But, and I know I'm allowed to like say this because it's announced on her Instagram, I have managed, I'm so happy to get my hands on like the kind of very, very early copy of Tara Stringfellow's new book. It's called Virginia, and it is the prequel to Memphis. I will link above my video on the Women's Prize and how much I loved Memphis, and I thought I wasn't going to like it at all. It is such a dark book in my opinion, but it's so beautifully written. It's so rich. Her writing is unlike anything I have experienced before. I also have read her poetry collection and absolutely loved it. I gave Memphis 4 stars, and that was just literally because I think I was a little bit traumatized. I gave her poetry collection, which I can't remember the name of right now, 5 stars. I love her writing. Absolutely, I'm just like, I am so in love with this woman. So yeah, as I say, I have like her kind of latest manuscript on it, and I'm so excited to read it. The editor for the book, when I said like, you know, I love her writing even though it's dark, she said that this one was dark, but not as dark as the other one. So slightly less so than the other one. I am going to read from the kind of like press release about it, but it says here, this is a historical novel set in Dust Bowl, Missouri, following a woman who has lost almost everything she loves and now works on the land her family once owned, willing herself to contentment as a white family settles into her late father's home, when an unexpected suitor makes her question what is truly worth holding on to. A story of forbidden love, family bonds, and the consequences of yearning for a life that feels authentically yours. And so, yes, very, very exciting. I cannot wait to see what this is about. Might have to like brace myself a little bit, but I'm ready. In the meantime, though, I am going to reread her poetry collection because it was dazzling, and I think, yeah, it's one I need to revisit every year. So I actually have one final bonus book to show you, which is Poetry is Not a Luxury, Poems for All Seasons. This is by the curator of the Instagram account Poetry is Not a Luxury. If you do not know that account, please, I'm going to link it in the description box down below. Go and follow it. It is how I have just discovered so many like different poets. Honestly, I think that is probably the first time that I heard of Mary Oliver through that poetry account. But they just post a variety of poems, and I love it. This collection, I think I gave 3 stars. It was fine, a solid collection. Again, I've been introduced to like so many like new different poets. It's organized in terms of the seasons, which I don't know why, but I guess that's the curator's preference. However, what I really, really liked, and this is something I got, is I received a gift card for my birthday, so I ended up picking this book finally. But what I really loved about this is in the introduction, they say, poetry is not a luxury. These words written by Audre Lorde are to me some of the most powerful words in prose ever penned. I did not know that this was from Audre Lorde, and it's just like, I just remember when I came across the account, I was just thinking like, yes, that is so true. Poetry is not luxury. It's just a necessity that we need in life. But yeah, to find out where it actually came from, I was like, oh, how beautiful. They go on to say, Lorde wrote of the revolutionary potential of poetry in 1977, and every day I continue to believe in its potential for poetry to shape the future. Yes, oh my God, so I absolutely love it. So yeah, it was really nice to have someone, obviously, with a pure passion for poetry collate this together. And like I said, I have found some new poets that I definitely want to check out. But yeah, I just wanted to make sure I showcase this. So that is all from me today. Those are all the kind of books that I borrowed from the library or have been sent or have purchased myself. Thank you so much for watching this. If you have read any of these books, please do let me know your thoughts. And yeah, I'll catch you in another video. Bye.